Action.
Hey, what the fuck? Welcome back to our humble little speechhead. I'm Drew. Spin on these wheels, etc., blah, blah, blah. Today we're going to answer how to convert your disc hub or your multi-axle dual brake wheels to a road bike, okay? This is a brand new pair of disc wheels we've just built for a customer, but we're going to show you before we send them off how we convert those to a road bike. The front wheel is really easy. I think we've covered it in depth and in a previous video, but essentially that's the adapter for 12mm through axle, and you just literally pull those out and in their place just push in these quick release axle adapters, and Bob's your uncle, job done. Okay, very, very simple, very easy, just a push fit, click it in, that's ready to convert to a quick release wheel. Obviously, if you had a disc rotor mounted here, you should remove that before putting it into your rim braking road bike. Okay, the rear wheel can be a little bit more tricky because we need to swap this 12mm by 142 through axle adapter out for this 135 or 130 road bike quick release. If it's going into a 135 disc braking or cyclocross bike, that's it. All you need to do really is swap this axle. But if you're going from a 142 through axle to a 130mm road axle, there's an extra step that you might need to do depending on the clearance of your bike. So we're going to show you that. Okay, so here you can see we've got a road bike, a rim braking road bike with a converted disc hub already in place, and no problem whatsoever. And as you can see on the front here, we've also got the disc hub conversion to quick release without the disc rotors. Okay, now the only problem that you might find going from a 142 through axle to a road bike with a 130 axle is the centering of the wheel, and that means you might find you need to re-center the wheel so that it sits in the center of your frame, and we're going to show you how to do that in a second.
Action.
Okay, so the first step is to remove the through axle, and for that you need two 17mm hex wrenches. Sorry, not hex wrenches, traditional wrenches. So just loosen off the axle ends. You see the flats are on either end, 17mm diameter, and then once they're finger loose or just unlocked, you can just unscrew that and get your 130 axle ready. By the way, that can be purchased at any time from our web store whenever you need it. So what I'm going to do is, rather than remove the free hub, if you're very careful, if you push the axle through with your finger from the other side, you can leave your free hub in place. That saves you having to re-engage the drive, and then your quick release axle is inserted in the same direction with the seal, the weather seal, on the drive side. Okay, so that just goes straight through, and then with your thumb in place to hold the axle and the free hub in place, just do this up. Just do it with your fingers until you feel resistance, and then you need two 5mm hex wrenches, one inserted into each axle end, in order to finish the job. So two 5mm hex wrenches. When you feel resistance, the amount of torque you need to lock that axle is literally this movement. Watch closely. Okay, it starts here, and it's just about that kind of turn, about 10 degrees of turn. That's it, all you need to torque that and lock it. So we've now got a quick release axle, a 130 road quick release axle in your previously disc braking 142 wheels. The only problem is that now the center of the wheel has been shifted. So I'm going to show you a very easy way to do that. You shouldn't be at all concerned. It's something very easy to do. What you're going to do is you're going to adjust each of the non-drive nipples to bring this wheel back into center. And you don't need a special fancy wheel making rig or a truing stand to do this. You can do this in your bike. Okay, use your bike as the guide that you need to center your wheel. Okay, so I've just put the that wheel into the road bike. I don't have a cassette on it, obviously, but that's in the 130 dropouts, and you now see that it's slightly off center. It's centered towards the non-drive side, so it's touching the brake pad here on the non-drive side. So we need to just correct that centering, and the way we're going to do that is we're going to release the tension on the non-drive nipple.
Action.
Okay, so I've put the wheel in my touring stand just because it's easier to show you that way. But imagine this is your bicycle turned upside down on its handlebars and saddle, and that's what we're essentially looking at, the wheel from the upside down part. So what I can tell from my gauge here is that we're about 2 millimeters away from center for a 130 wheel, and the easiest way to get it back into alignment is to decrease the tension on all these disc side or non-drive side. This is where your cassette is on this side, and this is the disc or the non-drive side when it goes into your road bike. And so all you need to do, it might sound really frightening to be messing around with the spokes and nipples on your wheels, but you need a spoke key. This is a 3.2 millimeter standard spoke key, and starting here at the valve hole. Now on your bike you've probably got a nice valve sticking out there, so that'll be your starting point. And the thing to remember when you're doing this is to go from one spoke to the next consecutively. Don't start anywhere random, always start at the spoke hole and keep going in the same direction until you return to the spoke hole. That will tell you when you've started and finished. So we're going to bring this wheel back approximately 1.5 millimeters to the drive side. And how we do that is we just release the tension on these non-drive spokes. There's 12 non-drive spokes, and you release the tension. I'm doing it down here, so I'll be doing it in this direction. So, and I'm going to count, that's a half a turn. Okay, and then to the next non-drive spoke, half a turn back. And you can see that I'm holding onto the spoke to keep it straight, and if it twists, I'm undoing that twist at the end of the turn. So I'm doing roughly 3/4 or half a turn at a time on each non-drive spoke. Okay, now don't touch the drive side spokes because they don't need adjusting at all. Okay, so now if you were doing this essentially unscrewing motion at the top of the wheel, be aware that you'd need to move your spoke key in the opposite rotational direction. Now in your bike you could easily be doing this. Imagine these are your brake pads, so you could be using your brake pads as the guide, and you could be adjusting your wheel in the same way that I'm doing, using this clockwise turning motion when the spoke key is facing away from you to unscrew. Okay, so we're now back at the spoke holes. That's the last of the non-drive spokes. And now if we look on this gauge, imagining those are our brake pads, we can see that we've got a long way towards the center. Okay, so that was just with a half turn adjustment on each of the non-drive spokes. We started out with the wheel here, 2 millimeters off, and we're now just over, in fact just under 1 millimeter off. For most road bikes, that's as far as you need to go. You can adjust your brake pads or whatever you need to do. It's better to have a little bit the wheel centered slightly to the non-drive side because it makes a stronger, stiffer wheel. But if you need to get it further to the drive side, you could just go around, do the whole thing again. This time maybe a quarter turn is all you'd need. So again, starting at the non-drive side and a quarter turn this time. Okay, and you see that brings us very close to the center. So just a quarter turn, and then let the spoke go back to its straight position by just reversing the keystroke. Okay. Very little turn is what I need. This is probably not even a quarter turn now, it's probably a third of the turn. Needs a little bit more. Those creaks you hear are literally the spokes just breaking their seals slightly before repositioning. And now you can see we're within a couple of tenths of a millimeter of the true center, and that's good enough. That's all you need. So that's how you do it. This will now fit in your road bike. When you want to go back to your disc bike, you do the reverse. You would want to increase the tension by the same amount on the non-drive spokes. So this is a crucial tool. I hope all you guys and girls out there riding bikes always carry one of these with you. It's an essential tool for every cyclist. It's a spoke wrench, 3.2 millimeter, and that will help you to keep all the wheels that we make true and last for the long road. Okay, so hopefully that all made sense. If you found that helpful, or if you enjoyed this video, please let us know in the comments down below. If you've got ideas for more videos you'd like to see about the wheels we make, again, let us know in the comments down below. We'd love to try and make those videos for you guys. So all that remains for me to say is thanks for watching, thanks for riding. My son, who's holding the camera right now, is dying to get out on his bike, ready for his ride, so I better say ciao for now. Okay, enjoy the ride.
Right, thanks, dudes. Alright, bye.